thinks the property is probably located in a little different spot than the original 1914. Thinks the property is probably located in a little different spot than the original 1914.
You guys ready?
Ready.
Hey, we're up. All right, good evening. I'd like to call this Kennebunkport Board of Selectmen's meeting to order at 6:02 PM on 8 December 2022. Item number 2, approve the November 22nd, 2022 Selectmen meeting minutes.
The 24th?
22nd.
That was an
An error.
Thanksgiving, yes.
And I wasn't there.
But that doesn't matter.
I will move
that's
to
right.
approve the minutes.
Have a second?
Mike wasn't there
I
either.
wasn't there either.
It doesn't matter.
Then I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, Mike. This is the public forum of our Selectmen's meeting. This is an opportunity for anyone who wishes to address the board with any issue that is currently not on this evening's agenda. I see no one in the audience. David, do we have anybody at home?
We have 2 remote attendees, no hands up.
All right. Moving on. Number 4, we are going to hold a public hearing on proposed addition of a stop sign at Community House Way into Community House Road to the Kennebunkport Ordinance, Part 1, General Ordinance, Title 2, Traffic and Parking Control, Chapter 160-12, Stopping at Intersections. So this time, I'm going to open the public meeting. I would invite any discussion at this point. Come on up.
Come on down.
Yeah, you're the next contestant
Good
on
evening. My
the,
name is John Downey, 16 Prescott Drive. We're on the dirt road leading right up to that area, and what we see is the kids that are coming down the hill from Community House and the parents that have dropped them off. Again, always in a hurry, always got to get someplace that they don't really have to get to, but they're coming down, and we'd like to stop them there so that they can take a tighter corner, because the kids are coming up Community House on their bikes. So the stop sign is you come down on the right before you hit Community House Road. The other caution that we discussed a minute ago, but coming up Community House towards Community House Way, we have to take a left up. That's where the kids are coming down the hill from the Community House, and they're all going wide. I think it was you that said it the last time. They're coming wide, and the cars that are coming Community House, there's just as much danger there, if not more. So I'd like to see a stop sign as you come down, because I want the cars to stop, take a tighter corner. But I also want to propose minimally something painted, or something that slows a car or stops a car away from that intersection a bit. So as the kids are coming, if they're making mistakes and going wide, and they all do, they're not running into cars there. The danger is alleviated. My thought is, I didn't want to put a standing stop sign on Community House heading towards the intersection, because it'd be kind of centered in front of the house and the yard of one of the residents that rents that house. Now, that may not be a concern for others, not personally for me, but I thought it'd be a little bit better looking, if you will, to have something painted on the road that says caution, stop, kids on bike, whatever it is, something, slow them down before they get to the intersection, so where the kids are coming down. Because they're coming down 5, 10, 15 at a time. And as the speed picks up, as the years go by, sooner or later, we're gonna have a car and a bike meet. I really just don't want that to happen, where this is such an inexpensive fix. So my proposal is stop sign coming down from the Community House, and then something painted on the road to stop the cars ahead as it enters the...
from the other direction, you're saying?
Yeah, from the beach towards that, before you make the turn.
You can have,
Can I see that, kid?
you absolutely can. This was just a crude drawing, sorry.
So it's been years and years since I've been up there.
Yeah, so here's coming up Community House Road, a lot of traffic. Here's, it's Lane, I thought it was Lane, it's Community House Way, and here's the Community House. So this is where I gather, we're now talking
Yeah.
about putting the stop sign. This is coming down, this is all the dirt road area. quote, private roads that everybody in the world uses, because all GPS systems now are telling, and I live right there at the intersection of Prescott and Summer Breeze, and my front porch looks right there, and I can tell you, I've seen an enormous increase in traffic that comes down here, particularly commercial traffic, and it's moving at a very quick pace. So I agree. I don't think I should be speaking through the thing.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Pete.
Okay, well, I'll give them I have plenty of
could speak
these
into
here
my
if anybody,
microphone if you
anybody
like.
wants them.
We saw
So
him
I
last- we
think
saw him
that
at
I
the last
fully
meeting.
support John's position that this should have some interaction with the traffic as you come up Community House Road, because that's where people have enough time to build up speed. As you're coming down from the community house itself, you know, yes, you want kids to stop, but let's be realistic about whether kids are ever going to really stop. And, I mean, you know, realistically, that's not going to happen even if you try and train them. The population of kids changes probably every 2 weeks with rentals and things like that. So
Yeah.
I think we need to
I like-
focus on
The stop sign, definitely the stop sign. And I think that's why you're
Thank you,
here
Kate.
tonight. That's what we have on our proposal, is the stop sign.
Yeah, we had discussed the painted area
Can we
as
just
well.
move the stop sign, and then we can discuss the rest of it at another time? Because
Tonight's public hearing, just to clarify for everyone, the only thing that we can make the change to is the stop sign, because that's all that
Sure.
was written. I don't know if we need a public hearing to paint something on the road or not. Do you know, Lori?
No, I don't think you do. But
No.
it depends if it was no parking.
Right.
But maybe Chris Simeone wants to use our little Post-it note board to draw out, do you feel like you know? Here's this,
He was out there with us, so
here's this, but I just would like to be clear, and here's a Sharpie if you need one, Chris. I don't know if
Chris,
there's a
you need a
marker.
Sharpie?
Yeah, you can show the hurricane.
Just because
Is
I would
that-
like to be clear where we're talking about either stop signs or painting, because the roads are all named similarly.
So.
So you're gonna need to go over to the mic.
Intersections in the front, they talking about stop sign.
Do we have a wire?
Stop sign down there.
I
Okay.
just maybe I'll sketch that, because that's how I remember it, not like she's got a truck.
Right, right.
So this is obviously not to scale.
So I need you to use a mic though, Chris.
Got a hand, I'll just,
One will bring you right up, we
just put this, move this together.
We don't, the wireless, they said, is it working well? So it's money.
That'll work. So this being Community House Road,
Could you get on the other side, Chris, you're blocking.
You can go to the other side.
Yeah, there you
does
go.
that work?
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
So more of the concern is the traffic that's coming down Community House Way from the community house. My thought was to put a stop sign here,
Can you put a big X there?
a big X.
A huge
and-
X, yeah.
And a stop bar painted on the pavement
Oh, good.
here. It sounds like there's some interest in putting something on
On the other
Community
side.
House Road. You know, I think, I understand the concern with the bicycle traffic coming down Community House Way and taking this corner wide. Certainly, we could put something back here. We can paint something on the pavement. I would not recommend putting a stop bar on the pavement without some type of a stop sign, because visually, motorists are looking for a sign.
Could just be slow, children are just slow.
Yes, we can. Yep. We absolutely can paint something on the pavement that says slow children.
S-L-O-W as you drive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we also have that option as well.
okay. Thank
Yeah,
you,
that-
Chris.
That would work.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have anything?
No questions.
No? I'm good with it. Is
Yeah.
there any other comment from the audience? Anybody at home?
No hands raised.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for being an artist.
Thank you, both of you. So if there's no other comment, I'm going
Can I
to,
make one more comment about?
you may, yes.
Okay, thank you. So we had talked about having an officer occasionally, once a week, maybe go up and speak to the kids, just make it part of, spending, 15 minutes with them, talk to them about the dangers of the bikes and the corners, and you got 20, 30 kids there in an audience, and a police officer in uniform, and I think it wouldn't be bad to spend 15 minutes to kind of go over bike safety once a week at a camp, just so that the kids, when they start out, they're aware of that area.
That's a great idea, but you'll have to take that up with the chief, because he's in charge of his officers. But
Coordinate.
that's fine,
I just
that's
did-
fine
I
with
just
me.
did.
I think that's a great idea. We used to, at Consolidated, when I was a kid, every year, we would have a safety day or so at Consolidated School, and the officers would come in and talk to us about bike safety, and I think it was, we enjoyed it.
So they start the camp on a Monday, it'd be great to have them understand it just for
Yeah.
that week that they're at the camp. That's all.
So,
Thank you.
great, thank you. Okay, if there's no other discussion, I'm going to close this public hearing. All right, so now I'm looking for a motion from the board.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we place a stop sign at the corner of, I believe it is it Community House Road?
It's now
Or Way?
Community House Road and Community House Road.
Road.
Wait,
No.
They are
maybe we
both-
need to rename
So as
some.
Community House Road takes a right onto Community House Road heading to the beach, that there a stop sign be placed at that intersection.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, motion passes. Thank you very much for bringing this to our attention, and I hope that it helps.
Yeah.
Appreciate your help.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Item number 5. This is an appointment of Michael Edwin West to the Planning Board. This would be for an alternative position with an expiration of July 2025. What is the board's pleasure?
So,
Mr. West is in the audience?
Oh, he is. Please. My apologies. Would you like to come to the mic and introduce yourself?
Good evening, I'm Mike West, and what would you like to know?
your background?
Yeah, just a little bit about you.
Town and a little bit of-
We're nosy. It's a small town.
Yeah.
Should have known. No, I moved here at the end of 2020, built a house on Log Cabin Road, moved in April of this year.
Oh, good. Well, we appreciate your willingness to come and be part of the town.
No, and I found Kennebunkport a very special place, and being part of maintaining that, I think, is important, and participating in the community.
Excellent.
I'm a civil engineer by training, have a MBA, part of a law degree, and some other corporate social responsibility degree. 32-year engineer, retired in 2015. Oil and gas, aerospace, and alternative energy. Worked with Engineers Without Borders for 5 years on their technical review committee, reviewing projects. So most of my career was project management and environmental health and safety. So I've done a lot of code review in that time period.
Well, this sounds like a really good fit for you.
And that's kind of what I thought after hanging out at the board for the last couple of months.
Yeah,
Thank
you've
you.
done
Thank
your
you for that.
research.
Yeah,
Planning,
thank you.
planning board is, very close second to the Board of Selectmen. A very, very important board. I mean, they all are, but as a member of the planning board, as you alluded to, you have to look at all the ordinances and the zonings and make your decision based on rules of
Knowledge.
fact and law, as opposed to those of us here who make our decisions based on what our constituents tell us, at least on a good day. So, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So do I have a motion for
I'd like
Mr.
to
West?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Michael Edwin West to the planning board.
With an expiration, to an alternate position.
Okay, alternate position. And what's the
The
ending
term
date?
expiring July 2025.
July 2025.
Second?
All in favor? Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, moving on. Item number 6, appointment of registrar of voters for a 2-year term. That's Tracy.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good, motion passes. Okay, so we have a retire, rehire situation here. Carol Cloth and Chief Sanford both would like to retire and be rehired. Lori, do you have something to say?
Yeah, so under the main retirement system, or now it's known as the main PERS system, once an employee has met their requirements, they can retire in the system. And Carol Cloth and Chief Sanford have both done that. There's no benefit to them remaining in the system without retiring. And so we do have in our personnel policy the ability for an employee to retire and remain in the position they are, and we call that retire, rehire. It is a reduced cost to the town, as we're not paying for their main state retirement benefit any longer. And these employees are both in good standing, and we would recommend the board approve that.
I would just like to make one comment, because this was brought up to me by a couple of folks in town. We recently had this happen with one of our sergeants, and when they retired, they went back to being a patrolman, and there was misinformation that they were busted, if you will, busted in the sense of,
Oh, yeah.
like back in the military, you get busted back to so low you need a telescope to look up to a buck private joke. But in that situation, it was that individual's choice to go back to being a patrolman, because in a position of authority as a sergeant, they had to work second or third shift because of the way our staffing works, and that didn't work in their schedule anymore, so it was their choice. So since we are rehiring Chief Sanford at his current position, that is not a violation of our personnel policy.
And we've done this before for employees of the town, so this is nothing
Yeah.
new.
Well, we're really glad you want to stay on. You should.
We are glad that you want to
Actually,
stay.
I'm not even going to ask you if you want to reconsider. So, do I have a motion to rehire Carol and Chief Sanford?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Congratulations. Okay, number 8, Tri-Town Law Enforcement Memorandum of Understanding. And here comes our new chief.
I don't feel that.
Can you tell us your qualifications?
Yeah.
It's been a long week.
How long you been in town?
It's been a long week. This MOU is, we currently have one in place with the town of Kennebunk, but the chiefs got together with staffing issues that a lot of folks
all going
are
through.
suffering through right now. We felt that maybe we could expand that a little bit, and Wells is willing to sign on with that as well. So basically, in time of need, those folks are committing to coming over here if and when they can, and we vice versa would do the same thing. We would stay responsible for our employees would still have to follow our rules and regulations and things of that nature, but again, it's just a matter of agreement. We currently have an MOU with Kennebunk that is similar to this. We have an MOU with the regional tactical team that is similar to this, and we also, you folks agreed to a similar MOU because of the COVID, when COVID was running rampant, and we just didn't know what was going to happen, and we were worried that we were going to lose an entire police force. So this is really no different, no alterations from it. It's just an expansion of that agreement.
I just had one question. What happens with the, and I want to say the insurance? So if something happened to one of our officers in Wells, would the Wells Department take it?
Under the agreement, we all are responsible for our own insurance. It would be no different if we took action. You folks have already given us authority for statewide jurisdiction. So if I were to take action and get hurt, let's say in Augusta because something was going on, our insurance would still cover that.
Okay.
So it's very similar, and we just look out and everything follows us, and they under theirs.
And that's the same as it is for fire, in terms of their mutual
Yeah, I just
aid
want to make
agreements.
sure our police officers are protected.
Yes,
Yep,
absolutely.
I wouldn't do anything other than that.
Well,
I see no problem with it.
do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
And that motion is to authorize the chief to sign that MOU?
That's what I heard.
Okay.
Isn't that what I said?
That's what
I would like to make a motion to authorize the chief to participate in the MOU, to sign it.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you, folks.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Chief.
And that's something, Chief, that if it didn't work out or something, you could back.
We have an exit clause.
Yeah.
Always
that's-
give us an out.
Okay, just to let
And we
people
don't
know.
even have to go, should they call, I only have one person on, I'm not gonna leave the
Right.
town of Kennebunkport naked, so we would just refuse, just say we just can't.
Can't.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Okay, number 9, LD 2003 update. I believe this is Warner, and there he is.
Yep. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I just wanted to come before you and give you a little bit of an update on a legislative bill that came about this past session, known as LD 2003. I'm not going to read the whole text of the verbiage of what it's called, but suffice it to say, it was a pretty significant piece of legislation in terms of what it did for communities in Maine, especially as it relates to housing. And so the components that the community has to look at in terms of potential ordinance amendments really center around 3 particular items. We have legislation that governs accessory dwelling units. There's an affordable housing bonus component, and then there's a density component of what's kind of referred to as the 2 to 4 units for single-family home lots. And the reason why this is important is because, as you all know, Maine's a home rule state, and this was a pretty significant piece of legislation in that the state, essentially mandated that communities respond within their zoning to address these housing items. So, and within the legislation, there were certain deadlines that were placed when communities would have to have their ordinance in compliance with this particular LD. And so the pieces where we need to address within our zoning, the deadline that's coming up would be July 1, 2023. And so as you all know, based on looking at our calendar, that's a pretty tight schedule. It feels like that's really far away, but we start looking at putting together ordinance amendments now, is whenever we start. And so I've outlined in this memo to you all just, some of the pieces that the state had envisioned were going to come to communities. One of those things was rulemaking that was going to come from DECD, which, from what I understand, they've only recently hired the staff to do that. There's also a grant component, some financial opportunities for communities to be able to hire, some planning assistance, but that grant program hasn't really been established yet. We would expect that grant applications would be available sometime in the spring. So what we know is that we think that that the deadline is not realistic in terms of being able to make this, July 1 deadline to have our ordinance in compliance. Some of these things are easier to address in the ordinance, and some are a bit more complicated. The portion that is relatively straightforward is the section that talks about accessory dwelling units. As you all know, we already allow for accessory dwelling units in town. This really just, the work that we would have to do and bring forward to the town are what I would call some housekeeping items and some performance standard adjustments that we're prepared to draft and bring forward. That one's relatively straightforward. The second piece involves that density bonus for affordable housing developments. That one's a little bit more complicated in that we would look for some of the rulemaking language from the state before we prepared any type of performance standards for that. And then the third, the one that's a bit more complicated, is the 2 to 4 unit allowances for single-family home lots. There's some complexity in terms of which properties would be eligible for this based on their position within a growth area, whether there's access to sewer and water, and there's also a corresponding if it allows for multifamily zoning. So there's a lot of overlying pieces that make it a relatively complex piece to figure out. In addition to that, what we're looking for from the state is some guidance on how this gets administered. As you can imagine, when folks walk in the door, we want to be able to give them a consistent answer, and it should be a consistent answer amongst communities on how you do this type of development. For the real estate world, it's what is it, what do these properties look like as they enter into the market as well? And that, again, all of that language and guidance hasn't really been developed yet. So what we've done, so myself working with folks from SMPDC, and we have numerous communities that are working along with them. We've requested our legislators that they consider adding a year to the deadline, to give additional time for communities to figure out what their zoning wants to look like. We also know that there may be potentially some amendments that come about on this law in this legislative session. So before we really get super involved with redrafting, large sections of the ordinance, I'd like to know that it's baked, right? Yeah. And that it's not going to change. So it's my recommendation that we'll move forward with proposing some of the ADU changes, but that we hold off on some of the other components until we have the rulemaking in place that's coming from the state.
Makes sense, Werner?
Folks have asked as well, so it says what happens if we don't comply by that July 1 deadline. So what could potentially occur at that point? Now, DECD doesn't have any, there's no authority that they have over communities. It's not like DEP that has authority over towns who don't have shoreland zoning. In that case, DEP can impose shoreland zoning on communities if they don't have it. This is different. And so what we are potentially at risk for is that if a developer were to come and attempt to do a project with these guidelines and our ordinance isn't consistent with it, there could be some legal challenges that we would face. But that would be specific to a project that may come about.
Sounds like they're not going to be ready. That's what it sounds like.
Well,
Yeah.
they're certainly not ready at this point to let us know what we need to do for our ordinances.
And we work faster than they do, so
Right.
I think it's going to be a while.
Yeah, but anyway, so we just wanted to let you all know this was what our thought process was in terms of, what we're prepared to do and just what we're recommending that we'll, we're going to stay in touch with, SMPDC and our legislators just so that we're informed and know what's going on. And as we have updates, I'll certainly inform folks of that, but I think this is where we're at the moment.
Okay.
Is there any chance that somewhere along the way, I read through this today and it's got a lot of questions. Is there any chance that maybe we could have a sit down at some point in time when it's really convenient and have you bring the board up? There's a lot to this, LD 2003. And my major question in that whole thing is, I don't want it answered now, is it looks like lot coverage is at risk.
Yep.
Well, That's a good question, because there are pieces of the law that talk about what a community can implement on some of these multi-unit pieces, and there are some pieces that that we'll have to adjust. Now, my understanding was lot coverage wasn't necessarily one of those items, but setbacks clearly was. So setbacks were, generally speaking, what you'll find in there is that the allowances that are essentially allowances that are given for single-family developments wind up applying to multi-unit, multi-unit projects is kind of the basic gist of it.
I just think that it would be advantageous to the board to know, like when let's say that July 1, 2023 happens, and during the year you're coming to us for a month, we're looking at a bunch of ordinance revisions and so forth. We need to somehow have an understanding, be on the same page as you.
Sure.
That's all.
I'm happy, so there is a fair amount of guidance documents available, and I'm happy to provide those to you all if you'd like to take a look at them. They're pretty dense, but yeah, but I'd be happy to sit down, with anybody and go over those.
I'd like to, just,
Yep.
I don't want to be an expert, I just want to know what we're looking at as far as the town goes. That's
Sure.
all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the thoughts we had on form-based zoning play into this at all, or is that?
That's a good question, and a lot of, a lot of questions that other communities have is, how do these densities fit onto areas where some communities already have things like a form-based code, or they already have density bonuses already. And so some communities were concerned that this stacked on top of some of those, and that's some of the clarification that needs to come out of rulemaking. It's our understanding that it doesn't, but again, the form-based code is really going to talk more about setbacks and building style, and this doesn't necessarily, this is more of a use-based issue, right? This isn't necessarily focused on. That's right. Yeah. So I don't necessarily see that there's a conflict here.
Where are we in that process? Were we looking at developing that, or is that something that's still occurring? Or
That's correct, yep. Yeah, we're still looking at developing that.
Well, thank you, Warner.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, number 10, request for street opening permit by Mark Welch and Sons for Main Street.
So moved.
Chris got some questions.
Yeah,
Do
Chris?
you have a question? No.
Okay.
They said if everybody,
All right.
Wasted the whole night.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Unless you don't have any issues, do you, Chris?
No, I don't.
Yes.
Okay.
it said that everybody agreed to it.
Well,
That's why I.
Okay.
Next time I'll read that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be so quick with it.
Sorry, I appreciate your enthusiasm. It's been a long day. Okay, number 11, tax acquired property bid for map 21, lot 9, sublot 58. Who wanted to talk to this? I do have this here. We discussed it at our last meeting, and there was a lot in the Wiles District area that was created in 1914, and then the town ended up in its possession for non-payment of taxes, I believe in the 1980s. And we had an
I think it was in
interested...
2010.
Was it 2010? Was that late?
Yeah.
There was a lot of dates in this thing. But the town has ended up in possession of it, and one of the abutters asked us about it, and we said that we put this bid document together, and the minimum bid was $10,000, and we did not receive that. So unless somebody wishes to take action on this,
So we've received one bid, to be
Yeah.
clear, but it was under the $10,000 minimum bid.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say you received no bids that meet the minimum requirements.
Okay.
okay,
That's what's so.
moving on.
So can I just get clarification on whether you guys wish to do anything different at this point, or?
Can we keep it open for a little bit?
Well, usually in a bid, right now, we've told them the the deadline and the date has come and gone, and so.
I'd say we just reject it, that's all.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
if you don't want to take any other action and maintain it as tax acquired, that's fine.
We don't even have to reject it, Mike. They didn't even meet the
Okay.
minimum, so, I mean, so the board will take no action on this since there were no bids that met the minimum requirements.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on, number 12, Goose Rocks Beach Advisory Committee recommendations. One, they would like to commit $1,000 to the University of Maine Beach Profiling Project. And number 2, commit $150 to reimburse our very own John Dykstra for a license of his drone software. John, can you, since you're on the beach committee, can you just tell us, or tell the folks at home what the University of Maine Beach Profiling Project is?
Yeah, this has been going on for, I'm about, I could eat it, I'm afraid, for decades, I would say. I don't know, do you know how far back it went, Laurie? But it's a long, long time. But it's a volunteer effort. We're part of a larger program that these funds would be applied to. It's an important element in the coastal geology and Maine understanding movement of sand over time on the various beaches along the Maine coast. So, and again, it's a volunteer effort. These folks are out there in all kinds of weather and all different seasons as well. So it's quite an important piece.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the history, because over time you can see how the dunes shift and the profile of the beach shifts.
profile of the
but
beach,
then
exactly.
But then it tends to shift back. And
Which is the nature of our beach
Yes.
particularly, is
Yeah,
it's the beauty and why our sand is so soft, is the sand never really leaves our cove. It just moves back and forth. But the dynamics of that are certainly very interesting.
Yeah. John, from my time on the advisory committee, is this the same project where you guys are using the drone and mapping it
No,
out?
no,
This is a different project.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
different. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, so, I'm gonna, since you will
I will
have to
abstain.
abstain on B,
Right.
let's take, A, to commit $1,000 to the University of Maine Beach Profiling from the Goose Rocks Beach Advisory Committee's, funds. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
I can do that.
He can, that one.
Oh,
Okay,
that
so
one,
that's
okay.
4-0, Yanina. And on B, to commit $150 to reimburse John Dykstra for the license of his drone.
And
So-
that one is for, just to speak to what it is, we started a program, did a little bit last year, of collecting 3D imagery over the dunes at Goose Rocks. The intent is that we can have baselines so that not if, when the next storm comes, we can understand how much and where the dunes have been impacted. The thought being that if it gets severe enough, then we'd have the justification to possibly look at replenishment or whatever the solution might be. So these funds support the processing of the data. The data are collected by a drone that I personally own, and it's my joy to fly it. But this is to cover the processing, computer processing through the web to support this.
Okay. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions?
One,
So it's 3-0-1, Yanina. All right, what do we got here? Oh, now we're on to the good stuff. Number 13, accept donations for the Nurses Fund. We have a $50 anonymous donor towards the general nurses account to assist with supplies, equipment, and/or needs. We have a $500 donation from Mary Woodman and the Flynn Family Foundation towards the Emergency Fuel Fund. Another $500 from the same Mary Woodman and Flynn Family Foundation towards the Emergency Food Fund, and $12,500 from Mary Woodman and the Flynn Family Foundation towards the general nurses account to assist with supplies, equipment, and/or any needs. Some very generous folks out there.
So moved.
Gratefully seconded.
Okay, all in favor? They all passed. Thank you very, very much.
Very much.
Especially this winter. I know there's some people out there who are going to need it.
That fuel fund is going to need it.
Absolutely. Okay, and number 14, accept a $1,500 donation from the Tommy McNamara Fund for Parks and Recreation. I believe they've been doing some work down at Fireman's Field, or they're going to.
Yep.
Great.
So
Okay, purpose.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you to the board of the Tommy Mac.
Yes, absolutely. Can't wait
Can
to
we
see
go
what they
back
do.
just a bit?
Yeah.
You said accept a $500 donation. Aren't they $5,000?
It says 500 on my slip.
Mine too.
Mine too.
5,500 and 500.
There was one for $5,000.
I have a 500, oh, this is according to my
Yeah,
agenda.
you're right. The agenda is off a zero. It is
Yeah, it's
$5,000.
$5,000.
Wow.
And the other one was $5,000. And then it was $12,500.
Wow.
I
Oh,
don't know
that's
how that
even-
All right,
happened,
so,
but
well, let's take another
Wow.
vote.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's,
thank you for that, Mike,
Thank you,
and
Mike.
thank you, well, even more gratitude.
Yeah, I know.
So we will accept a $50 anonymous donation to the Nurses Fund, a $5,000 donation from Mary Woodman and the Flynn Family Foundation for the Fuel Fund, another $5,000 from the same Mary Woodman and Flynn Family Foundation towards the Food Fund, and then the whopping $12,500 from Mary Woodman and the Flynn Family Foundation towards the nurse's general account to assist with supplies, equipment, or any needs. That's most magnanimous of them.
So moved.
Second.
Very,
All in favor?
very gratefully.
Thank you for pointing that out, Mike.
That's a $22,500
Yeah.
donation.
That's
That's
very
more
nice.
money than I made today.
It's a really significant.
Yeah.
They do this every year,
Yeah.
the family.
I think it's wonderful.
It is wonderful.
It sure is. We have some very generous people in town.
You do.
Okay, so number 15 would be other business. Mike, do you have anything?
No, we've got another one.
What's that? Nothing?
No, you've got another.
We just did that.
You did, no, you didn't.
We didn't accept it?
No.
McNamara?
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're putting the
We'll do it again. Just-
nurses thing in with the recreation department. I don't think so.
What?
No, well, maybe they're in the.
No, that's
that was a
agenda
separate one that we
13 and 14 we already voted on, and then you brought up the fact that we had the wrong numbers in here.
We didn't, I don't remember, I mean, I may be getting older.
Oh, it may be me.
but I don't remember the
No,
$1,500.
You were dealing with the 5,000
Let's
and,
just.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah.
You are correct, Mike.
I mean, we should give some recognition to the recreation department.
Well, we did, but I'm fine to do it again. So, for item number 14, again, we will accept a $1,500 donation from the Tommy McNamara Fund for Parks and Recreation, and this will be work to be done at Cape Porpoise
This is
Fireman's.
actually for the ice skate.
Oh, this is for the ice skates.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, we
sorry.
didn't even talk about it, so.
So
I will-
this is to purchase ice skates for.
Yeah, in fact, we got the ice skates in today.
Okay.
Which I think is great.
Yeah, it sure is.
so.
Okay, so I have a motion from
I-
Sheila.
Yeah, so moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? With much appreciation. Thank you. All right, other business. Mike,
No, nothing.
John,
Nothing?
Sheila.
I want to thank everybody for attending, those of you who attended Prelude. It went very, very well. I'm glad the chief isn't here because he might not think the same thing. But from what I hear, it went very, very well, and people were very, very happy with everything. And even the rain didn't hinder anything. We probably had about 100 people in the hat parade walk the streets while it was raining. Oh, yeah, people showed up. It was wonderful. And we will do it again this weekend. The tree lighting is tomorrow night with the fireworks, and then festivities all through the weekend, Pooch Parade Sunday, and Santa. So hopefully, we'll see more people down there.
I'm headed out of town. Just joking. Lori, do you have any other business?
Yep, I have 3 items. First, I want Chris Simeone to come up and just give you guys an update on where we are with the pump station projects.
That makes me feel better. You had to stay here anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to bring you up to speed, that is moving forward. Next month, we do have the drillers coming in from Main Drilling and Blasting, and they're gonna start drilling the rock ledge where the new wet wells are gonna be placed. There may be a pause for a little bit, about a month or so, before they come in and start breaking that ledge and removing it, but we'll be on our way with the pump stations
Now,
next month.
which station is this, Chris? I'm sorry.
Going to be the Cape Porpoise pump station, as well as the Walls District Road pump station, and they're going to follow in third with the Patty Creek pump station.
Okay. So when you say drilling, they've already done the test borings, they're gonna put dynamite down them eventually?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
yeah, well, they're actually going to try to hammer it first. So they're going to go in with a drilling machine and kind of, for lack of a better term, Swiss cheese everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they'll go back in with a
big
large
excavator with a tapper on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Could I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
I'm wondering if the board would rethink having the meeting at night the next meeting on the 22nd. I'm feeling the pinch of Christmas, and I'm wondering if we could have one of our morning meetings instead. I'm just throwing it out.
Well, I can't guarantee my attendance in the
Or
morning, as you know,
maybe
but
early afternoon or something.
late
Yeah,
afternoon.
late afternoon.
Don't we have
We
a
might have to, because we have,
significant
yes,
agenda item?
we have, Megan McDermott and her outfit coming to talk to us about the Causeway project, so I don't think we can change that. Am I
mean,
correct?
We do have Megan scheduled to come on the 22nd. I mean, you could postpone it until January if you wanted to, but that and Wilds District Road was our updates planned right now for the 22nd meeting, but it's up to the board.
I'm okay with the night. You know, I got Christmas too,
Yeah.
but I'm okay with the night meeting,
I'll go either way.
yeah. But if it's I could go either way too.
It works better for me at night. I just
All
never
right,
know
nope.
what days I'm.
I just thought I'd throw it out.
Okey-doke.
Hey, if we have a quorum, you want to take the night off, I'm not going to hold it against you, because I'm going to Florida this winter, I'm going to.
Depends on how much I have done.
Okay.
So the other item I was going to share with the board, I'll pass these down, but these are profiles that, on Kennebunkport that we received from Southern Maine Planning and Development. And Southern Maine Planning and Development received an EDA grant to look at the impact of sea level rise on our coastal communities, and they really focused on Kittery, Wells, and Kennebunk. And, but they did look at the other communities in our region on the coast, and they did a profile of each, and so this is that. We just got it in the mail this week. So there's a lot of information in there. It has quite an impact. We are, out of the 6 towns they reviewed, we had the largest area to be impacted and the highest valuation amounts to be impacted. And so I, give it to you as a resource. I asked them to send us an electronic copy as well, so we could have one on file. But it's quite a story that tells.
Has this played into our climate action task force? They're doing a impact assessment.
Well, Southern Maine
evaluation.
Planning has the information, and so I'm assuming that they would,
right,
since
so this
they're
was
heading
given-
up the climate action
Indeed, they
task
wanna
force,
do it.
they'll
Answer
wind
is
that
yes.
together. But I think it also helps lead why us
Nice.
planning, so they look at both the 1.6-foot level rise as well as the 3-foot level rise and the storm surge, and so they give you both scenarios, but I would encourage you to review it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you have anything else, Lori?
I don't.
All right. I would just like to wish everybody happy holidays, because I know Hanukkah will start before our next meeting, and I know as Sheila has said, the holidays are coming and we got some planning to do, right? Both in our personal lives and in the town.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody has an opportunity to enjoy this holiday season. And that's really all I have this evening. So without any delay, I'd like to approve the December 8th treasurer's warrants.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Motion to abstain?
To abstain?
Motion,
Abstain anytime
Yes.
you wish.
Don't abstain on this one.
motion to end.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Motion to abstain.